When you watch like a world-class magic trick, the most captivating part isn't actually the prestige at the end.
Right, yeah. It's the moment it happens.
Exactly. It's the exact moment of disappearance. Because, you're staring right at the object. You know the physics of the room. You know it shouldn't be physically possible. And yet right before your eyes, it just vanishes.
It's wild. And I mean, yesterday at Augusta National, we didn't just watch a golf tournament. We watched a magic trick of the absolute highest order.
We really did.
We watched Rory McIlroy's historic, record-tying 36 holes, 6-shot lead, just completely evaporate into the Georgia pines.
Yeah, a presumed coronation instantly turned into this absolute gridlock.
It was a complete dismantling of expectations. You have a defending champion who, he looked invincible on Thursday and Friday.
Oh, totally untouchable.
Right. And then suddenly he's fighting his own mechanics while this massive chasing pack, who had basically been playing for second place, suddenly smells blood in the water.
Well, welcome to this custom deep dive, designed specifically for you. Because our mission today is to extract the most critical insights from Saturday's wild third round at the 90th Masters tournament and really set the stage for what is going to be an explosive final round this afternoon.
Absolutely. And we are pulling from a really varied stack of sources today to give you the ultimate strategic preview.
Yeah, we've got agronomy fact sheets from the Gulf War Superintendents Association, some really deep biomechanical swing analysis from golf.com, historical masters data, USGA technical manuals, and of course, real-time broadcast notes.
So we're going to examine not just what happened to the leaderboard, but the actual physical and honestly psychological mechanisms behind it all.
Right.
We'll look at the specific swing flaw that derailed the leader, break down the precise turf conditions that allowed the field to catch up, and map out exactly how today's setup will dictate the drama.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the numbers from yesterday's moving day are just staggering. I mean, Rory McIlroy shot a 1 over a 73. Yeah. Meanwhile, Cameron Young stormed back from 8 shots behind with this blistering 7 under 65. He is now tied with McIlroy for the lead at 11 under par.
Which is just an unbelievable jump.
And it's not even a 2-horse race. You have Sam Burns sitting right there at 10 under. Shane Lowry is at 9 under, riding this massive wave of energy after a hole-in-one on the par 3 sixth.
Oh, that ace was incredible.
So good. And then, lurking right behind them at 7 under is Scottie Scheffler, who also shot a 65 yesterday.
The momentum shift is just profound. You go from a tournament where everyone is just trying to survive in the leader's wake to a completely open shootout where, half a dozen players wake up this morning believing they're absolutely destined to win.
Yeah, I'm looking at McIlroy's scorecard.
Right.
And a 6-shot lead just doesn't evaporate from bad luck or like a couple of bad bounces.
Yeah, definitely not.
Something fundamental has to break down, right? What physically happened to his swing out there.
So, the analysis from golf.com isolated a very specific biomechanical breakdown that really reared its head on Saturday. They refer to it as the pesky left miss with his irons.
The pesky left miss.
Yeah, and it usually surfaces under highly specific circumstances. McIlroy wasn't hitting full, aggressive, 100% swings when this happened.
Yep.
He repeatedly found himself with awkward yardages, in between clubs. So to compensate, he was trying to hit these 3/4 sort of knockdown shots to control the spin and trajectory.
So he's intentionally trying to take distance off the ball.
Exactly.
I want to push back on this a little, or at least try to visualize it, because it seems kind of counterintuitive. Like if I'm throwing a punch or throwing a baseball, all the power and control comes from my lower body, right? From my hips driving forward.
Right.
If my hips suddenly hit the brakes in the middle of a throw, my arm is just going to snap over wildly. I'd lose all control of the direction. Is it really that simple of a mechanical flaw for a world-class player on the biggest stage in golf?
It sounds simple, but under pressure, it becomes this neurological misfire. And your baseball analogy is the exact right visual for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In golf, when a player consciously tries to take distance off a shot, the brain tells the body to slow down, and the lower body obeys. The hips stall and they stop rotating through the impact zone. But the arms and hands, they're still traveling at well over 100 miles an hour.
Wow, okay. So they don't get the memo to slow down.
Right, so the hands just whip past the body, precisely. It creates this huge conflict between power and control. When the hands rapidly take over through the impact zone because the hips have stalled, the club face just slams shut. And for a right-handed golfer, a closed club face sends the ball violently to the left.
But, McIlroy's stalled lower body wouldn't be a catastrophic issue on a flat, wide-open municipal course. You might just miss the green by a few yards.
Sure, you'd be in the rough, maybe.
Right. But the reason it derailed his entire round is because of the specific architectural traps Alister MacKenzie laid out on the back nine. That left miss happened at the absolute worst possible geographic location on the property. Amen corner.
Yes. What's fascinating here is how the course architecture perfectly exploits that specific mechanical doubt. Let's look at hole 11, White Dogwood.
Okay.
It's a brutal 520-yard par 4. The fairway subtly narrows, and more importantly, it slopes downhill and right to left.
Which means the ball is naturally going to want to hook to the left anyway, just based on gravity.
Exactly. It demands absolute, fearless control to hold the ball against that slope. McIlroy, already fighting that left miss, had a downhill lie, hit a long iron, his lower body stalled, the face closed, and he just overcooked it left of the green.
Oof.
The architecture literally feeds the ball straight down the slope into Rays Creek. He took a penalty drop and walked away with a devastating double bogey.
And at Augusta, you don't get a moment to breathe and reset your mechanics, right? Because immediately after fishing your ball out of the water, you step onto the 12th tee. Golden Bell.
The ultimate test.
It's the shortest hole in the course, just 155 yards. But it acts like a lie detector test for a golfer's mind.
It really does. It is heavily defended by swirling winds that contradict what the players actually feel on the tee box. The trees create this sort of vortex, so club selection is essentially a leap of faith.
And McIlroy was clearly still rattled from the double bogey on 11. He overcompensated, flew the green entirely on 12, failed to get up and down from the brush, and dropped another shot.
Yeah, back-to-back disasters.
Reading through our sources, it instantly brought up a historical parallel that genuinely gave me chills. It was Nick Faldo reflecting on Greg Norman's infamous collapse in 1996.
Oh, that 1996 parallel is highly relevant today. Faldo was chasing Norman, who also had a massive lead that was slipping away, and Faldo later noted that he knew Norman was in deep trouble before they even reached the water.
Really? How did he know?
Faldo saw Norman hitting hesitant, decelerating chips back on the 10th hole. He realized Norman's mind was racing. And Faldo knew that if you are experiencing doubt, the 12th hole is where the water is waiting to punish you. It just exposes hesitation.
Wow. But here's the massive contrast from yesterday. While McIlroy was fighting that lie detector test and trying to find his swing, the rest of the field was absolutely torching the golf course.
Oh, they were lighting it up.
The scoring average for round 3 was 70.63. That is the lowest third-round scoring average in Masters history. We saw 19 rounds in the 60s. How does Augusta National, the ultimate test in golf, suddenly yield those kinds of numbers?
Well, the environmental conditions shifted drastically. The course transitioned from this survival test into a highly scoreable shootout. Thursday and Friday were cold, windy, and abrasive.
Very tough conditions.
But on Saturday, we saw high temperatures pushing 30 degrees Celsius, around 86 Fahrenheit, and the wind completely died down to just a gentle breeze.
Which brings us to the agronomy and how the turf actually reacts to that weather. I was looking at the official Golf Course Superintendents Association fact sheets. The players are hitting off 79 acres of ryegrass overseed fairways, cut to exactly 0.375 inches.
That's incredibly tight.
Right. And the second cut, what we would loosely call the rough, is 35 acres cut at 1.375 inches.
And we really need to translate what those measurements mean for ball striking, because Augusta National does not defend its par with brutally long, thick U.S. Open-style rough, where players are just hacking the ball sideways back to the fairway.
Right.
They defend with angles and with the sheer complexity of their green complexes.
I mean, if I'm playing at my local municipal course, 1.375 inches of rough doesn't sound terrifying at all.
Well, not at all.
But at Augusta, the danger isn't that you can't find your golf ball. The danger is that the ryegrass overseed is almost frictionless. The ball sits up perfectly like it's on a tee. It practically begs the player to be aggressive.
Yes, and that is the trap. Because from the second cut, you get grass between the club face and the hull, which alters your spin rate. If you are out of position at Augusta, even with a perfect lie, the angle to the pin is usually dead. The course demands that you hit approach shots from the correct side of the fairway just to access the slopes on the greens.
It's less like playing in a jungle and more like playing on a high-speed pool table. Like, the difficulty isn't the thickness of the felt. The difficulty is the steepness of the slopes, the sheer speed of the surface, and the exact geometric angle you need to bounce the ball off the bumpers to get it near the hole.
That pool table analogy is the perfect way to understand Augusta's ultimate defense, which is the putting surfaces. The greens are pure bent grass, shaved down to an incredible 0.125 inches. At that height, the grass provides almost zero resistance. Gravity just takes over.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the agronomy staff can't just guess how fast the greens are rolling. They have to measure it obsessively. And I went down a rabbit hole on how they actually quantify green speeds. It turns out, for a sport so heavily reliant on modern analytics and data, the measurement relies on this bizarrely primitive tool from the 1930s called the stimpmeter.
Yep, invented by Edward Stimson. It is essentially a 36-inch extruded aluminum bar with a V-shaped groove running down the middle.
Right, so you place a golf ball in a little notch at the top of the bar, and you slowly raise one end off the ground. When the bar reaches an angle of about 20 degrees, gravity pulls the ball out of the notch. It rolls down the ramp onto the green, and you measure how far it travels in feet. You do it a few times in different directions and average it out. A typical green at a high-end course in the U.S. might run somewhere between 10 to 11 feet on the stimpmeter.
But at Augusta, they are pushing the absolute limits of physics. They are running at approximately 12.5 to 13.5 on the stimpmeter this weekend.
That's like putting on glass.
It is. And the mechanism of the stimpmeter actually had to be altered specifically because of Augusta National.
Yes, the USGA introduced the 2x notch in 2012.
They had to. I mean, to use a standard stimpmeter, you need a perfectly flat, level area of the green that is at least 10 to 12 feet long to measure the roll.
Which doesn't exist at Augusta.
Right. On Augusta's heavily undulating greens, finding a perfectly flat 12-foot stretch is nearly impossible. If you release a ball on a standard stimpmeter at Augusta and it catches a slope, it might roll 40 feet into a bunker. It will literally never stop.
It proves how terrifying the slopes are. So the 2x notch is milled lower down on the aluminum bar. It releases the ball at a slower speed, requiring only a 6-foot level area to measure, and then you just multiply the distance by 2 to get your speed.
Which highlights the razor's edge. The 60-person agronomy staff walks every single night. Faster is not always better. If you take greens with these severe sweeping slopes and make them run at a 14 or 15 on the stimpmeter, the course literally becomes unplayable. A ball won't come to rest near the hole.
So the overnight moisture control, using those sub-air systems beneath the greens to pull moisture out, or syringing them to keep them soft, dictates everything about how the final round will play today.
Completely.
If they let the greens firm up and bake in the sun, today places an absolute premium on defensive precision. If they keep them slightly softer to protect the grass, the aggressive birdie shootout continues.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the speed of the greens works in tandem with the final piece of the architectural puzzle, which is the Sunday pin positions, the targets. Augusta National is famous for using classic historical hole locations on the final day, relying on the player's memory of past drama.
Yeah, and we have the official sheet for today's targets. On the par 3 16th, the pin is in its traditional back left location. Players won't even aim at the flag. They will aim 20 feet to the right and let the ball catch that massive ridge and slowly feed down the slope toward the cup.
It's beautiful to watch.
It's the exact funnel that has yielded 15 historic aces.
And then on the 12th hole at Amen Corner, the pin is tucked on the extreme right side today. It is just 5 paces from the edge, hovering dangerously close to Rays Creek.
That is so tempting.
It tempts players who are chasing the lead to fire at it, which brings massive numbers into play. And on the par 5 15th, it's in the customary back right position, demanding a high spinning approach over the water.
But the committee always throws in a few tweaks to keep the players off balance. Right?
They do. Look closely at hole 8 today. Typically on a Sunday, that pin is back left. Today, they've tucked it into a very narrow front nook, just 10 yards onto the putting surface.
Oh, wow.
And on the 17th hole, instead of being at the far back of the green, the flagstick is much more centralized. These aren't massive shifts in yardage, but they are huge psychological shifts. They force the players to abandon their historical muscle memory and calculate fresh angles under immense pressure.
And when we talk about calculating those angles, there is a fascinating technological context to this. Because all week during practice, these players and their teams have been using advanced data modeling, AI trajectory mapping, and hyper-detailed statistical analysis to prepare for every blade of grass.
Oh, the prep is incredibly data-driven now. But once they step inside the ropes for the final round, Augusta remains strictly traditional. There is absolutely no in-round technological assistance allowed. No green reading books with topographical maps.
Wow, they strip it all away.
It strips all the digital safety nets away. It is purely the player, their caddy, their yardage book, and their eyes.
Which sets the stage beautifully for the ultimate clash of styles and mentalities we are going to see this afternoon. The final pairing features Rory McIlroy and Cameron Young teeing off at 2:25 p.m. Eastern Time. And the penultimate group right in front of them is Sam Burns and Shane Lowry.
It is the ultimate contrast of experience versus pure momentum. You have McIlroy trying to conquer his mechanical doubts, trying to trust his lower body, while carrying the weight of trying to join the most elite, exclusive club in golf back-to-back Masters winners.
Right, because only Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods have successfully defended a Masters title.
Exactly. And on the other side of that pairing, you have Cameron Young, who is playing purely on momentum and house money. When you storm back from 8 shots down with a 65, the psychology changes. You aren't protecting anything.
You're just attacking.
Plus, Young got an incredibly lucky break on the 13th hole yesterday. His drive was sailing deep into the pine straw, it hit a tree and bounced perfectly back into the middle of the fairway, allowing him to reach the green in 2. When a player gets a break like that, they stop thinking about mechanics and start believing it's a tournament of destiny.
The psychology of the chaser is always freer than the psychology of the leader. The players teeing off behind McIlroy today, Young, Burns, Lowry, Scheffler, they know the conditions are ripe for scoring. With the weather holding at a sunny 30 degrees Celsius and winds staying light around 5 to 10 miles per hour, they're going to absolutely attack the golf course. The pressure is entirely on McIlroy to respond.
Completely.
So for everyone planning their Sunday, here is your viewing roadmap for the broadcast. It's a truly global event with multiple ways to track the action. In the United States, Prime Video starts their exclusive live stream at 1 p.m. Eastern with Inside MN Corner, bringing you all that real-time ball tracking. Paramount Plus runs from noon to 2 p.m., and then CBS takes the main flagship broadcast from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m.
And you definitely want to utilize the multi-feed options. ESPN handles the dedicated Amen Corner feeds, so you can watch every single player navigate holes 11, 12, and 13. You can also catch featured groups and keyhole feeds directly on the Masters app.
What about internationally?
For international viewers, Sky Sports Golf will have comprehensive live coverage throughout the European evening. And regional broadcasters, like TBS in Asia, are carrying the live feeds as well.
Perfect. So, as you settle into your couch to watch this afternoon, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've spent this deep dive analyzing the frictionless ryegrass, the exact 13.5 speeds of the stimpmeter, the biomechanics of a stalled lower body, and the weather forecasts. We've basically quantified everything.
But the Masters cannot be fully quantified.
Exactly. Consider the sheer, crushing psychological weight of this specific piece of land. When a player steps onto the 12th tee this afternoon with the winds swirling in the Georgia pines and a life-changing green jacket on the line, are they really just calculating wind speed, trajectory, and backspin?
Probably not just that, no.
Or are they fighting the ghosts of past players, like Greg Norman, who stood on that exact same tee box, felt their hands take over their swing, and watched their legacy drown in Rays Creek?
It is the ultimate test of athletic composure. Because despite all the hazards Alister MacKenzie built into the earth, the ultimate hazard at Augusta National isn't the water. The ultimate hazard is the mind.
Enjoy the final round, everyone. We will be watching right there with you.
Enjoy the golf.